the player who disappeared after winning a match. Normally, winning is the best feeling in the world, right? Unless it's your last match. In 2007, the Argentine Federico Luzzi played the first round of a challenger event in Italy. He won the game and went back to his hotel, all happy and cheered up. But after that, he vanished. Cut to 3 days later, the man was found in his hotel room in a critical condition. Turns out, he had been diagnosed with acute leukemia, the kind that shuts down your body really fast. Within days, Luzzi was dead. Seems pretty natural, right? But here's the dark part of his story. He had complained of dizziness, fatigue, and bleeding gums for weeks. But he said the tournament officials kept on pressuring him and asked him to continue despite his condition getting worse. He died at 28. No fines, no responsibility. The tour moved on like nothing happened. ESPN reported his death, but what led to it? The neglect? The truth? All left out completely. The ex-player who claimed she was trafficked. Have you ever noticed how some players just appear on a tennis court out of nowhere? Especially from remote countries where they have no support systems, no background stories, just suddenly on tour? Well, something weird like this happened in 2017. A former Eastern European WTA player came forward anonymously, claiming she was brought into the tennis world under false pretenses. She thought she was being brought to Europe for junior training. What actually happened? She was trafficked. She claimed that for 2 years she was moved between coaches in France, Spain, and Belgium, and was forced to perform not just on the court. They took her passport, beat her if she didn't perform in matches, made her sleep in basements, and forced her to play with injuries. And no one, not even tennis officials, ever asked questions about her. No one helped because I was winning. These were her words. She was winning, so it didn't matter what she was going through. She did finally manage to escape after faking an injury and contacting the embassy from a borrowed phone. But what happened to her when she tried to speak out publicly was unbelievable. She was threatened, all her sponsors pulled away, and her federation denied knowing her. To this day, that player hasn't used her real name in any of the interviews she's given. And whenever any journalist tried to connect her case to the WTA, the door was slammed shut. You won't find her story on any mainstream outlet because if it's not a comeback, a trophy, or a feel-good fairy tale, they don't want to cover it. The match-fixing debacle that tennis tried to bury. This is the one that almost every tennis fan knows about, but everyone hesitates to talk about it. BuzzFeed and BBC conducted a massive investigation in 2016 and revealed that match-fixing was rampant in professional tennis. And I'm not talking about just the challenger events in ITF. We're talking major leagues, the top 50 ATP players who were seeded in Grand Slams. 16 players were flagged numerous times, and believe it or not, one of them was a Grand Slam winner. But still, no names were revealed, no bans, no statements. The Tennis Integrity Unit, that's supposed to be the watchdog, was accused of ignoring credible evidence. Why? To protect the reputation of the sport. Keep it quiet, and keep it clean. This sounds a lot like damage control, doesn't it? The Wimbledon line judge who was found dead in his room. Wimbledon, the classiest event in tennis history. Professional white outfits, royal seats, and in 1,983 a body. David Moocroft, a veteran line judge, was an official at Wimbledon. Halfway through the tournament, he was found dead in his hotel room. The official cause? Suicide. But here's where things start to get really weird. His colleagues mentioned he looked as normal as ever, no signs of stress. But his room, it showed signs of being searched. Drawers were open, documents were missing. A briefcase, allegedly full of sensitive umpiring material, was never discovered. No one was ever charged. Even the case closed in under a week. And Wimbledon? They never released an official statement. ESPN covered that year's tournament, but you'll never find a single mention of David Moocroft in their archives. The California Tennis Academy that turned into a cult. This one's nothing short of a horror documentary. In the early 2000s, a highly ranked tennis academy in California gained the reputation of producing some amazing junior players. But inside the academy, something seemed very wrong. Some of the former students revealed that the coach imposed total isolation. No contact with parents, meals were rationed, sleep was monitored. There were chants, uniforms, and punishments for anyone who broke the rules. It was a proper system of psychological control. One of the students even came out and said, "We weren't tennis players, we were prisoners." Numerous lawsuits were filed, accusing the coach of physical and emotional abuse. But nothing happened. The academy rebranded, changed its name, and is still operating under a new management today. No segment was run on ESPN about it. Too messy, folks. The doping program that protected its stars. Everyone knows who Lance Armstrong is, but tennis? It's clean, right? Well, not so much. In 2004, a former ATP Tour physio came forward. He claimed that several top 10 players were part of a secret doping system. And wait, it wasn't just the players. Everyone from the players, coaches, federations, and even doctors were allegedly involved. Blood bags, hormone treatments, and even custom cleansing protocols before drug tests were used. Before a drug test, players were tipped off in advance. The physio said, they were told, "If you talk, you'll never work again." What about the whistleblower? Well, he was blacklisted. He left the country and changed his identity. The story was completely buried, and none of the major news networks ever picked it up. ESPN aired fluff interviews with those same players, all smiles, no questions asked. The teen prodigy who vanished from the tour. Have you ever wondered what happens to those junior rising stars who dominate the headlines but then suddenly disappear? A 15-year-old girl from Eastern Europe was making the headlines in 2013. She was even dubbed as the next Maria Sharapova. She made it to Junior Slam finals, had many sponsorship deals lined up, but then disappeared. No retirement posts, no injuries, just absolute silence. Years later, a Reddit thread surfaced on the internet claiming that she'd suffered a complete mental breakdown. She'd been abused by her father, who also happened to be her coach, starved to maintain weight, and allegedly forced to take performance-enhancing supplements. There were whispers of a sealed investigation, but nothing was made public. No support from the tour either, just exile. Her name? It was wiped off the WTA's website by 2016. ESPN? They did a 2-minute "Where Are They Now" piece once, but they never mentioned abuse, nor did they ever follow up with the case. The tournament with the mafia connections. Now this one might actually get me in trouble for even bringing it up. But for years, the Palermo Challenger was rumored to be under the control of local organized crime. The players were offered money to throw sets. The people in the crowd also noticed envelopes being passed courtside. Not just this, but one player anonymously claimed he was offered $50,000 just to lose a second set without making it too obvious. But he refused, and what happened next was really surprising. His hotel room was broken in, his passport was gone, and his tennis gear was trashed. That tournament's still on the calendar, still part of the tour, but every single year there's at least one suspicious betting pattern linked to the tournament. And not a single mainstream outlet is daring enough to investigate it. The mental health crisis tennis won't admit. I've already talked about death, drugs, and abuse. But this one's a story that keeps on repeating. Over the last decade, more and more players have come forward and talked about the mental toll of life on tour. The isolation, the pressure, and the non-stop travel. A former top 20 WTA player once said, "You're not allowed to be human on tour. If you cry, you're weak. If you withdraw, you're lazy." After all these comments from players, the WTA and ATP have done shockingly little about the situation. Token wellness programs have been conducted, but we've seen no real change from those. Players are still fined for missing press, still forced to play with injuries, and still pushed to their limits. More players have retired early due to mental health in the last 5 years than in any other era before. This is an issue that needs to be addressed, people. The coach with the decades-long abuse trail. This is a story that the tennis world refuses to face head-on, not because no one knows about it, but because it's way too familiar. For more than 25 years, one internationally known junior coach, I'm not saying any names here, but the insiders know, trained dozens of top 50 players. He was always praised for toughening up his students, but his methods? Brutal. We're talking forced fasting, physical beatings with a racket, sleep deprivation drills. Verbal abuse was so intense, one ex-player said she developed a stutter. Another one claimed she had panic attacks every time she picked up a racket. Numerous players came forward with testimonies, Even lawsuits were filed. Some federations also cut ties with the coach, but others, they still refer juniors to him. One male player who later became a Grand Slam finalist said in an interview, "He broke me, but that's what champions need." The media? They know about all the stories, but all of them are too scared to come out in the open and name him. Why? Because he trained champions. He made too many careers. Too many dollars were involved, and too many legacies attached to the coach that no one ever dared name him. Believe it or not, the coach is still out there, still working in academies overseas, still training players with his brutal methods, and as long as the players keep winning, no one will even say anything and he'll always be protected. If you want more videos like these, you know what to do, guys. Like and subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments below if you have any other dark stories. Until next time,